That Mitchell and Webb Sound, starring David Mitchell and Robert Webb, with Olivia Colman and James Barton.
Morning, Jeff the Fox.
Hello, Fred the Badger.
You must be pleased.
Why's that?
Hunting ban? No more fox hunting? Good news for you foxes, surely?
Yeah, in a way, yeah. I'm just a bit disgusted by the amount of parliamentary time that's been devoted to it.
I'd have thought you'd be cock-a-hoop.
It'll only go underground.
Ooh, I hope not. I live underground. But you've got to think it's good news, surely.
Doesn't really affect me.
Doesn't really affect you?
I'm an urban fox, mainly. I just come out here once in a while to get away from the bloody car alarms.
Well, that's a bit selfish. Shouldn't you have a bit of solidarity with the country foxes?
Oh, bunch of toffs. I've got no sympathy. You should see what they do to chickens, just for their own amusement. It's completely barbaric in this day and age.
Well, it's tradition, Jeff. They've been doing it for hundreds of years. It's the way of life of the country fox to slaughter chickens in a sort of frenzy of feathers and clocks.
It's a complete anachronism in modern Britain, and it's high time that the bloody stuck-up country foxes are made to abandon their outmoded practices and respect the values of the urban majority.
I had no idea you felt so strongly about it, Jeff.
It does exercise me, Fred. I mean, there are bins everywhere. There is absolutely no justification for killing chickens when you could be eating half-finished BLTs, the bottom of a tin of tomatoes, or the crusty bit of a microwave cannelloni.
Oh, I hadn't thought about it like that. That's actually very cunning.
Oh, please, not the cunning stereotype. It's so offensive.
Sorry. Good evening and welcome to Big Talk. My name's Raymond Terrific, and yet again I stand at the eye of the storm of the world's ills, waving my staff like Gandalf and screaming, "Let's get this sorted!" As ever, I'm joined by a panel of brain spurts and mentalissimos, a veritable smorgasbord of cleverness that the world is rightly too respectful to eat. These people literally play Trivial Pursuit for fun, and they use the little-known actual Genius Edition. Anyway, tonight, climate change. The weather's going bonkers. What the hell are we going to do? Richard?
Well, once again, Raymond, this is, of course, a huge issue.
Let's dispense with the pleasantries, Richard. People in Holland are fitting extension tubes to their snorkels as we speak. What are we going to do? Is it sponges? Leonard?
No, it's definitely not sponges.
I like your style, Leonard. Sorry for interrupting.
I think we have to start with the rainforest. It's vital that we try and impress upon South American governments the importance of...
Try and impress upon the importance of? That doesn't sound like a thing you do. Come on, boffins! Danielle, make a difference.
Well, we need to get serious about carbon emissions.
I have done. I got serious about carbon emissions in the car on the way here, so I'd be ready. I also brought pen and paper, which I noticed Richard has not.
Sorry, but I think Danielle makes a very good point. We only have to look at the polar ice caps to...
To what? To solve the problem? We just have to look at the polar ice caps to freeze them all up again? Oh, good plan. Now, I hate sarcasm, but you've driven me to it, boffins, with your cold-hearted prevarications that amount to, let's call it what it is, murder.
Let's all calm down.
Calm down, boffins! Are you out of your massive minds? Leonard, if you were about to drown or burn or starve, I would panic. It would be the least I could do. Well, that's what's happening to people this minute, and I don't think my duty to panic disappears just because they're not in the room. I am going mental with anguish, boffins, and that's what makes me a man!
Next week on Big Talk, Raymond Terrific tackles the issue of the Arab-Israeli conflict.
I'll leave him to it.
Centerfold. A song about opening a porn mag and finding that your first love is now a nudie model. That would be a surprise, wouldn't it? Totally undermines the achievement of having got to nude yourself in the first place. All those years ago. You're listening to The Late One with me, Adrian Lockett, and the time's just coming up to So Late It's Early. A phrase coined by a lecturer at my university about my coursework. The joke turned sour when I was thrown out. Doesn't really matter. You don't need a degree in chemical engineering to become a DJ. Only to become a chemical engineer. Still, that would have been nice. Here's a track from a new Pinky and Perky album of Radiohead covers. Pinky and Perky with Creep.
Hello, Springdale Dairies.
Hello, is this the milk helpline?
It is indeed, sir. How can we help you?
I have literally no idea. That is why I'm calling. How on earth can you help me?
I'm sorry?
I am a long-standing and hitherto satisfied buyer and user of your milk. But as I decanted a serving of it a moment ago, my eye was drawn, as if by an eye magnet, to a telephone number on the carton bafflingly labelled Milk Helpline.
That's right, sir, yes. Man, 24 hours a day for all your milk inquiries.
Like what? What possible help could I need with my milk? I buy the milk and I drink the milk. Should the mood take me, I make a custard. But all, and this is my point, without the least need for guidance from an outside agency. So I rang to discover what I'm missing. What is the service you provide to those who come to you begging for assistance with their milk?
Well, we could suggest some milk recipes, sir.
Such as?
Why not try adding milk to your tea?
Are you playing me for a fool?
No, sir. To be frank, we don't have any recipes, but we could help you if you were experiencing a problem with your milk.
Who has a problem with milk? Do people ring up to say that the milk stopped working? It's milk. What could possibly go wrong?
You're absolutely right, sir. No one ever calls about that.
Then what do they call about?
They call to ask what on earth the point of the milk helpline is.
What?
Of the 377 calls received since the inception of the helpline, 376 have been exactly along those lines. And the remaining one was from a young man wanting to know if his sister was right that you got banana milkshake by milking monkeys.
So what on earth is the point?
The point is that this call has so far cost you £12.36.
I see. What a despicable trick to play.
Yes, sir, but it does say on the carton that we are an evil dairy.
Does it? Where?
Just above the milk helpline.
Ah, so it does. Good day. Oh, and that's a bad miss.
A chance now for Chris Hunter as he strides to the table. One of the taller players, as tall as he is lean.
Certainly one of the better-looking players in the top 16. I think it's all right to say that in this day and age. As Steve Davis was telling me just the other night, in this wonderful sport of snooker, it is about entertainment.
It is about entertainment as much as anything else, and I see nothing wrong with mentioning in passing that Chris Hunter is very easy on the eye.
Nothing wrong whatsoever. At the end of the day, it's good for the game for a gifted young player such as Chris.
A gifted, tall, young, blonde player such as Chris.
He is all those things, and I don't think it's going too far in these days of PC for me to call another man sexy. And Chris Hunter is that man. He is a friend of mine. He is a sexy young friend of mine.
Indeed.
He is my sexy young friend. Tomorrow night on Sky Sports 4, it's the clash of the South Coast as the irresistible force of Southampton take on the immovable object of Portsmouth in a clash that's going to go down in history as one of the many football matches that are happening this weekend. Meanwhile, there are old scores to be settled at the Dell. Scores like 1-0 and 2-2 that have happened in previous years. Who will win this time between Sunderland and Blackburn? I don't know. Then on Sunday, live, the battle for the North West as Macclesfield meet Shrewsbury in a match already being described as on this Sunday. Coming up midweek, the Giants of Charlton pay host to the Titans of Ipswich, making them both seem normal-sized. Then Tottenham play Bolton for the second time this season to see who'll win that. Also, Manchester United return return to Aston Villa for a game of football to determine the victor, for this year at least, and indeed at most. Looking ahead to March, every football team will be playing football several times and in various combinations. And you can catch all that football here, where we'll be showing all the football all the time. Catch all of the constantly happening football here. It's all here and it's all football, always. Thousands and thousands of hours of football, each more climactic than the last. Constant, dizzying, endless, 24-hour, year-long football. Every kick of it massively mattering to someone, presumably. Watch it all the football, all here, all the time, forever. It will never stop. The football is officially going on forever. It will never be finally decided who has won the football. There is still everything to play for and forever to play it in. So that's football coming up. Watch the football. Watch it. Watch it. It's going to move. Watch the football. It's football.
I mean, yeah, it's science fiction, but we're much more interested in writing the fiction than in...
Knowing about the science. I mean, you can literally study science for weeks before you're really on top of it.
Yeah, and I had to write the links for a Dale Winton pilot, so we thought...
Sod it.
Yeah.
Last week on Space Trek and Wars.
Captain, the little green men have made a hole in the silver wall with their laser thing, and now the space is getting in.
Quick, everyone. Put on the special motorcycle helmets for breathing with. We're humans. We breathe air, not space.
I'm the doctor around here, Captain, but as usual, you're right. Breathing space is incredibly bad for you. My doctor's surgery on the ship is full of people who've accidentally got a lung full of space and are having to be made better with that modern machine that's a bit like the metal slidey thing that's the old way of doing a credit card.
Where the engine is.
Yes, Captain.
We need to get away from the thing that's going to blow up very quickly so that we don't blow up too.
Oh, typically the engine's broken.
I'm ordering you to mend it as quickly as possible.
Right. Done it.
Computer, do a scan of the planet for what we're looking for.
Found it.
Where is it?
It's near the top on the right where Norway would be.
Right. Is it safe to breathe on this planet?
Seems all right.
Should have checked, really.
Hello, I'm an alien.
Can we trust it?
No,
Oh, so what's the thing about you then?
it's that we try and eat you after a bit.
Quick, kick it in the shins where it might keep its testicles.
Ow!
Good guess.
Right, I suppose that wraps up that mission.
Yes, and I think we've all learned something about tolerance and space. Now, let's beam up for our tea.
Oh, and that's a bad mess.
Well, look at the disappointment on Chris Hunter's pretty little face. That is a shame.
He is devastated. I can never make up my mind, Peter, whether or not he looks more stunning in moments of adversity such as these than in moments of elation and joy.
For the fullest answer to that, Ted, you'd have to ask his lovely girlfriend, Jackie. But I know what you mean. There is a quality to his fragile isolation that puts you in mind of Winona Ryder in Court.
Which is about as sexy as it gets.
But for my money, it's when he comes into the Crucible bar after a big win or a few snatched moments with Jackie, with the lights from the fruit machine shining through his hair, and he smiles and he turns that smile onto you. It's like basking in the light of twin suns.
You're quite right, Peter. It makes me thankful my op went okay.
In half an hour on Channel 4, award-winning documentary series Modern Scrutiny will be looking at the growing problem of social workers who are themselves mental or going mental. That's, you do have to be mad to work here, but it doesn't help.
If anything, I actually prefer the original version. I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. What the hell am I doing here? Doesn't that just say it all? Particularly if you're in a lightless booth. Like me. You're probably not. Maybe you're in bed. Maybe you're on a mountaintop with someone you love. waiting for the sun to come up. If so, it's not going to happen for 4 hours, so... enjoy the moment. That's if it comes up at all. Ancient pagan fear, of course, the disappearance of the sun. Wouldn't affect my job. I don't get much sun, full of vitamins apparently, but also cancer. Here's Motorhead.
They're coming. Now we'll see how these Russians deal with a crack SS division.
Hans?
Have courage, my friend.
Yeah. Hans, I've just noticed something.
These communists are all cowards.
Have you looked at our caps recently?
Our caps?
Yeah, the badges on our caps. Have you looked at them?
What? Well, no, a bit.
They've got skulls on them. Have you noticed that our caps have actually got little pictures of skulls on them?
I don't...
Hans, are we the baddies?
Well, of course we're not the baddies. What we're doing is completely just. We're fighting for the future of Germany against the communists and the decadent Western powers who betrayed us at Versailles.
Yeah, that does sound just.
Of course.
But on the other hand, sorry to go back to it, but we have got skulls on our SS caps. And that just seems very much the sort of motif you'd associate with a baddie.
I'm not with you.
Well, you know, skulls, the connotations are pretty much all negative. Death, cannibals, beheading, pirates.
Pirates are fun!
I didn't say we weren't fun, but fun or not, pirates are still the baddies. I can't think of anything good about a skull.
What about pure Aryan skull shape?
Even that is more usually depicted with the skin still on. Whereas the Allies...
Oh, you haven't been listening to Allied propaganda. Of course they're going to say we're the baddies.
But they didn't get to design our uniforms. And their symbols are all, if not positive, at least arguably so. You know, stars, stripes, lions, hammers, sickles.
What's so great about sickles?
Well, nothing. And obviously, if there's one thing we've learned over the last 1,000 miles of retreat, it's that Russian agriculture is in dire need of mechanisation. But you've got to say, it's better than a skull.
Eric, why are you getting so worried about badges and symbols? They're not important.
Well, it's just, you know how they say that history is always written by the victors, so their symbols and associations will go down in history with positive connotations and their defeated enemies with negative ones? I was thinking if the Allies win, we've kind of done quite a lot of that work for them already. With the skulls.
Right.
And, I mean, they're called the Allies. We're called the Axis powers. Doesn't sound so nice. Sounds like we're going to lose. And also, have you noticed how we did really well at the start of the war, and the Allies nearly lost, but now things seem to be going a lot better for them?
Yeah?
Well, have you ever seen a film?
What's your point?
Well, I've never seen a film where the goodies start off incredibly successfully, really nearly achieve their goals. Then the baddies come back strongly, but the goodies still eventually win. Whereas I have seen a lot of films where the baddies nearly win at the beginning, but then the goodies come back strongly and eventually win. I'm just increasingly uncomfortable about our place in the narrative structure of this war. I'm quite surprised that's on the playlist. Now it's time for our phone-in. If anyone wants to give me a ring, talk about your troubles. We're running a competition for insomniacs. Who's counted the most sheep? Please be honest. The lines are now open. Don't all call at once. Oh, I've just lost a bet. Hello, line one.
Adrian, I've just had a massive row with my boyfriend. He's just kicked me out of the house.
How do you know my name?
He says he doesn't want to see me anymore.
Of course, I'm on the radio.
I hate him. What am I going to do? I love him. I think I'm pregnant.
Anyone you want to say hello to?
What? He's throwing my stuff out of the window! Stop it, Brian! Stop throwing my stuff out of the window!
I don't want to see you again, you poisonous witch! Keep that bloody noise down! Do you know what time it is?
It's just coming up to 4:15. Time for the bangles. Oh, and that's a bad miss.
Chris Hunter approaches the table now. That trademark hairband, Ted, is it purely practical or is it for the purposes of fashion?
Peter, he assures us it's purely practical. It's to keep his plentiful locks from getting in his forget-me-not blue eyes. But it does look terrific.
He set something of a trend, Ted, amongst the other young players, but needless to say, no one else looks anywhere near as good in theirs as Chris does in his.
Peter Ebdon, in particular, looks ridiculous. But I gather that Chris is quite attached to his hairband. I was talking to his lovely girlfriend, Jackie, the other night, and she was telling me he even wears it in bed.
Does he? Boy, oh boy.
It's certainly food for thought. What a sight that must be for Jackie or for his other girlfriend, Amanda, during their more intimate romantic moments. Chris looming over them, his face flushed with exertion and concentration, just as he is now as he gets down to this long red.
Excuse me.
It's all got a bit much for Peter there. Who can blame him?
Welcome back as we enter the 16th hour of the top 100 worst human beings ever. So that's Charlotte Church in at number 25, just ahead of Stalin. And now, at number 24, yes, it's the cheeky Cambodian you love to hate, with a name as crazy as his campaign of murderous purges, Pol Pot.
Oh, God, yeah, it was a big 70s thing, wasn't it? Pol Pot killing people. That was his whole deal. He killed people. And even at the time, you know, we were going, oh, God, Pol, not again. Just stop killing people. But he was like, you know what? I reckon I'll kill some more people. I mean, hello.
Let's face it, there's a clue in the name there, isn't there? You know what I'm saying? Pol Pot. Yeah, mate, because you're potty. Like, that wasn't even his real name. That was one he chose. It's like calling yourself, I don't know, Poo Pan.
Year zero, that was his big thing, wasn't it? Like, the rest of us were just getting into the 1970s, and suddenly Paul's going, no, sod it, let's all start all over again. I mean, what's his problem? Did he really hate space hoppers or something? And another thing, 2 million Cambodians he murdered, and he was a Cambodian himself. What's that about? Shouldn't he have, like, murdered himself?
So much for Pol Pot. Thought he was all that, but he was Pol not. He's in at number 24. And remember, you can still call or vote online for the top 10 worst of the worst. Calls cost £9 a minute, but are well worth it for the tiny spark of self-esteem you'll get from the delusion that anyone actually cares about your opinion. Every vote counts. At the moment, the top spot is still neck and neck between Adolf Hitler, decimator of Eastern Europe, architect of the Holocaust and proud owner of that embarrassing moustache, and Rick Waller, who is fat. So, ultimate question, shall we invite June Sarpong?
She'll probably be busy presenting Channel 4's flagship youth magazine strand, T4. Do you know she saved them £7 million over the last year just by announcing things slowly? Apparently, over a week, it amounts to the equivalent of a whole episode of Friends.
You're right. June does talk incredibly slowly and weirdly.
Why is that?
I think she used to have a stammer, and talking slowly is how they tell you to get over it.
How come she had a stammer?
Gulf War. First Gulf War, back in 91.
June Sarpong fought in the Gulf. Are you sure about that?
I think I'm sure. I'm not 100%. It's not something I'd say in public. But I had a conversation at Linda's do, and I definitely came away with the impression that June Sarpong flew Mirage jets for the French Navy back in 1990.
It certainly explains that faraway look she's got in her eye.
Yeah, she's thinking about the sorties.
Yeah. Either that or the autocue woman's new and she can't go slow enough. Anyway, let's have June along.
Yeah. Although...
What?
There's a chance, just a small one, that if June comes, she'll bring her T4 co-presenter Vernon Kay.
I thought Vernon had moved on and they've got that new Welsh bloke now.
Same guy. That's Vernon Kay as well. He just does two voices. He keeps reinventing himself.
Well, you've got to, if you're a presenter. People are so fickle. It's like John Leslie. He used to be huge, but you don't see him anywhere now. And it can't be because of the rape charge, because he was completely exonerated.
Yes, of course. But I think what happened there was that the whole wrongful accusation of rape incident gave the country pause to reflect on whether or not they actually liked John Leslie, rapist or not.
Certainly the answer came back loud and clear that not having done a rape didn't constitute sufficient charm to keep him on our screens.
Yes. And as TV presenting can be done by almost anyone, the process of replacing him has been pretty seamless.
Let's hope for his sake Nicky Campbell's keeping his nose clean. The last thing he needs is for people to consider even for a moment whether or not almost anyone else would be nicer.
Yes.
That Mitchell and Webb sound starred Robert Webb, David Mitchell, Olivia Colman and James Barkman. It was written by David Mitchell and Robert Webb, James Barkman and Mark Evans, Jesse Armstrong and Sam Bain, Chris Reddy, John Finnemore, Jonathan Dryden-Taylor and Simon Kane. The producer was Gareth Edwards.